Greetings fellow mammals, Season 4 brought us a new assault rifle, the EF88. On screen right now you can see a sneak peek at my personal favorite setup. We will get into the reasons for that in a later chapter, but for now we will go over the damage model, BTK, TTK, how it compares to its siblings and how useful the headshots are. After that I will show you my loadout recommendations, and finally I will place the EF88 somewhere on my personal tier list. So without further ado, let's take a look inside. As you can see, it is yet another addition to the main AR damage model group, so the usual 3-step profile. You can ignore the decimals, I just kept them there because they do affect the headshot calculation sometimes, since the game rounds up the final values. What's relevant for you is the resulting BTK, and that's just a simple 4, 5 and 6 shot model. And with a rate of fire of 675, the EF88 places itself right between the G36 with 720 and the L85 with 635 rounds per minute. For reference, I put all the other TTKs of the weapons from the same damage model on here, and as you can see, the EF88 wiggles itself right in there with a starting time to kill of 267 milliseconds. Not horrible, but also not great. This is probably the moment where it makes sense to tell you that this weapon is essentially the compromise between the L85's accuracy and the G36's power. So if the L85 was too weak for you and the G36 not accurate enough, then this weapon might be worth a try. Talking about accuracy though, what about the headshots? Well, before I can pull up the graphs, I have to tell you about a little fail on DICE's end. What a surprise. I know. You may have spotted it yourself in the menus already, but if not, essentially DICE forgot to apply the new headshot multipliers to the new AR and carbine. So right now this thing still has the 1.34, 1.5 and 1.75 multipliers instead of the new 1.4, 1.57 and 1.8. Thankfully, the actual resulting differences are almost non-existent. So on the left, how it should and hopefully will be after the next patch, and on the right, for comparison, how it actually is right now and how it shouldn't be. If you have trouble spotting the differences, that's fair because there barely are any. But if you squint your eyes and look to the third step on the 1 headshot and 2 headshot graphs, you may see that on the first, synthetic tip should actually stay on a 5 BTK, and on the second, the same thing should be the case for basic headshots. That's it. Now, if we take a look at the overall picture, I think it's pretty fair to say that unless you want to go for free headshots, synthetic dip ammo is not worth it because Hollowpoint does the exact same thing otherwise. And if you do, those free headshots only really come into play beyond 21 meters in comparison. But synthetic tip ammo is also only 5 points more expensive, so might as well. What's more important is the question, is this weapon capable of actually pulling that off? And the answer to that is yes. Does that mean it's a viable strategy for you? That's something you have to figure out yourself. So, with all the graphs accounted for, what did I build from this baseline? So, welcome to the unscripted part of this video where I talk about the weapon setups. Let's start with the first thing I tried, which is essentially just a G36 direction, so we're ignoring the headshot ammo and going for full accuracy. Long suppressor, heavy extended, violet laser, buffer for a bit of more recoil combined with the suppressor, basic magazine because I think the reload is fine, normal ammo, and then the 30-point ripped stubby, so we don't negate the violet laser, and also get a bit of ADS speed, because unfortunately we cannot downgrade the magazine to a 25 or 20 round option, which means if we use the heavy extended barrel, or the extended, or I don't think it has a heavy, yeah. Well, if you use a barrel that increases ADS speed, we kind of have to use a grip that reduces it, otherwise we have 300 milliseconds and then this would be like an LMG, which is horrible. So you kind of have to use one of those, and now we are at 250 with a very, very accurate setup, which is super easy to control and is an absolute mid to long range body shot laser, and this works very, very well. My only issue is the ADS speed. It's fine, let me be clear, it's fine, but personally nowadays I prefer 200 milliseconds. This is obviously still, if you don't mind this, the best possible setup. ignoring headshots. Now, if we move over to the second version, which basically leans towards the other sibling, the L85, here we go for synthetic tip ammo. We still have the heavy extended, still have the violet laser to get those accuracy hits on headshots, the buffer, basic magazine, and a long suppressor. And now we are stuck at a dilemma because we only have 15 points left. And this weapon, for some reason, I mean, you can figure it out because the rail is pretty short, doesn't really get any angled grips. For some reason, it only gets the full angled, which, by the way, looks completely stupid. And if it does get this one, why not the slim angled? Why not the, I don't even know what the 15.1 is called, and why not the slim hand stop? If you can mash that on there, why not the other ones, dice? What is this attachment decision? I don't know. Anyway, we can't afford it on this build right now anyways, but technically, if we had the slim hand stop, that's what I would be using to reduce the ADS speed, but we don't have it, so we don't really have any other option, which means we have 15 points left to invest anywhere else, but we can't get the ADS speed down. So leaning towards the L85 end of the spectrum is also not the optimal choice in my opinion. And that brings me to my personal final setup, which I preferred the most. And that's if we simply move back to the first build, get rid of the laser, switch the heavy extended to the cryo barrel, and that's it. It's very simple. Yes, you lose the moving accuracy, but you keep the better spread increase, and we're down to 200 milliseconds. It doesn't go for headshots. I just don't think, I don't know, you can do it, but it wasn't really vibing with it. I think the L85 still does that better than this one. And this way you it kind of carves its own niche, because the G36 can pull off the 200 millisecond full body shot accuracy build, the L85 is better at the full headshot build, and this thing is in between with a relatively good velocity without any extended barrels, with a 200 millisecond ADS speed, so it's quite aggressive still, and it's still insanely accurate. Even with this setup, maybe you just have to stop moving in between because you don't have the violet laser. But otherwise, this thing is very, very fun to use. And this setup is what I was vibing with the most. If you don't need the 200 milliseconds, then I would recommend this. Back to the script. And now it's time to rank this handy machine on my tier list. So let's recap what we have discovered so far. The EF88 is essentially the middle child between the G36 and the L85. Technically it can go either way, but because of the artificial attachment limitations it can't quite do so all the way. So you are basically stuck with a somewhat handicapped version of either the little or big brother. In my opinion, that's not the ideal route to take. Instead you should try to let it do its own thing and see if that middle ground is working for you. For me it certainly did. I had a great time with this weapon during the leveling process, and the start was a tiny bit rough, but I think once you reach level 5 or 6 it's already fine, and you probably get there after 1, maybe 2 matches. The rest of the progression is pretty much smooth sailing, and it just gets better from there. Ultimately, and with a look at my current tier list, I think I can already see the perfect spot for it. It's not as strong as the G36, but it's also not as unfortunate as the L85. So looking at this, I think it perfectly fits into A tier. I like it, I do recommend trying it, but ultimately I'm not sure that I will be using it once I unlock the Unstoppable foreskin. Maybe, maybe not. Did you have a similar experience? Is your favorite setup completely different than mine? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today, thank you for your time, and I will see you on the battlefield. Sorrow out.